and welcome back to Just Ask Mrs. Hurlbut, Episode 3. Our topic today is loving appropriately, and my special guest who's going to help with the questions is yet another Mrs. Hurlbut. Hello, Mrs. Hurlbut.
Hello, Mrs. Hurlbut. I'm happy to be here today.
I'm so happy to have you. This is my son's wife, Brittany, so I'll be calling her Brittany from now on. And she's going to be helping me with questions about what it means to love appropriately. And I'm not sure what you all think that means, but I'm talking about how do you treat yourself and other people in a way that is healthy and that is going to set you up for a lifetime of happiness. So I teach about ways to love that are thinking outside of ourselves. How do we put other people's needs ahead of ourselves in a joyful way that brings us joy right back? So let's see what kind of questions you all ask that speak to that topic. Brittany, what is the first question?
The first question is, what is the difference between loving myself and being selfish?
So I hear that a lot. How do you draw the line between self-care and being selfish? And the best way to sort of unpack that is to imagine that you are of no use to anybody if you don't first love yourself. So take good care of yourself. Believe in yourself. Keep yourself healthy. Have a plan in place for your future. Follow your dreams so that you can then be attractive and attracted to other people. So when you love yourself in a healthy way, you become a much better version of yourself for other people to benefit from. To love yourself, what was the second part? Being selfish?
And between loving myself and being selfish, the difference between.
So being selfish would be taking it too far, maybe being a narcissist, thinking too much of yourself and the rewards that you get from your actions, from your gifts and your talents. If it just becomes about serving yourself, it's not doing anything. It's just sitting there by itself doing nothing. I always ask my students to consider whether or not they think they're a window person or a mirror person, which is pretty straightforward, right? A mirror person is someone, when they look at a reflection, they only see themselves. A window person sees beyond that. So if you're ever walking down the street and you catch your reflection in a storefront, are you the person that stops and checks the way you look? Or are you looking inside to see who's in there? I've been in many Starbucks where I've sat inside and saw somebody I knew on the other side and waved, and no one looked back at me because they were too busy checking to see how they looked. So I challenge people to walk past those windows and look beyond themselves and really consider what else is out there besides who you are. So what you've got is amazing. It's meant to be shared with others. So yeah, take good care of yourself so that you can be of service to somebody else.
Completely agree. And moving on to the next question, which that leads into taking care of yourself. Is it bad to want nice things for yourself?
Good question. It's not bad to want nice things. When we have nice things, it brings us joy and happiness, and we're able to then be that joyful person to somebody else. But you can go a step further, and when you want nice things, you should be sharing nice things. So if you are in a position where you can afford a vacation home, which would be an absolute dream of mine. I can't even say it's a bucket list, but it's a dream of mine. I would do it simply because I would want to share it with somebody else. I wouldn't want to sit in that house by myself. Whenever I would travel to the desert and see all those beautiful homes on the fairway at La Quinta, I would see them at night with all their lights off and think, no one's even there. No one's even there to enjoy that. Mm-hmm. I just know that if I had something nice like that, I would want to share it. So yes, there's nothing wrong with wanting nice things as long as it makes you feel better and stronger to be of service to somebody else, but even more so to be able to share it. A nice car and an income that you can share with a spouse taking your family on a vacation, those kinds of things. There's nothing wrong with wanting nice things. It's a matter of what are you going to do with those nice things, and how can you make somebody else happier with those nice things.
Absolutely. And I think it's why also, right? Like, do you want this because you want other people to see that you have these nice things?
Right.
Or do you want them because they will truly bring joy to you, or, you worked really hard.
Right.
You need all this money to buy that nice thing that will bring you some more joy. I think it's a really important differentiator that people need to decide before they make that big purchase.
Right. It's a great point. It shouldn't be about status. If it's about status, then you're elevating yourself. You think you're elevating yourself higher than somebody. But in the reality, we're all equal. We're all worthy of the same love. And if you're looking for status, you've lost sight of what it's all about.
Absolutely. And then moving on to life and what you get out of it, we had a question come in that says, I feel like I'm behind my friends in knowing what I want out of life. How would I decide?
Good question. So I always say there's a spectrum that we're all on. And at some point in our life, we find our way. We find our joy. We find our happiness. We find our relationships. Some people know when they're 3 years old exactly what they want to do with the rest of their life. Some realize it at 6, some 12. I watch many kids in high school have their aha moment, whether it's falling in love for the first time or recognizing a gift or talent that they have and wanting to pursue it. Some people don't find that until long after high school or even college. If you're pushing 30 and you still haven't figured it out, yeah, that can be a problem. But if you're anywhere in that spectrum of literally 3 years old to, let's say, 25, you're still working it out. So please don't worry if you think everyone else has got it figured out and you haven't. The reality is you're not on the same adventure or the same journey as them. And oftentimes it can be reversed. Sometimes you find a passion and then it becomes a responsibility. Let's say you have a love for playing piano and then you join an orchestra later in life. Awesome. That's your passion turning into a responsibility. But anybody who's graduating college and saying, I have no idea what my passion is, fine, get yourself a job. And every job will lead you to what you love, or maybe the very first job you get, you'll fall in love with what you're doing and your responsibility will then become your passion. So we're all on a spectrum. Do not worry if you think you're behind. You're not. It's going to happen right when it's meant to happen.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to note that, you can find something that makes you really happy and, things change. Your personality changes.
Always.
Circumstances changes. It's never just a set point. Oh, I got here. Here's my purpose for the rest of my life.
Exactly.
You're always learning.
I'm still learning. Right?
Exactly.
Okay, Brittany, hit me with your next question.
Okay, so talking about life, someone asked, when does life get easier? I feel like I have no freedom.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it doesn't get, what was the question, easier?
Yeah.
It really doesn't get easier. What happens is it actually gets harder, but your ability to manage the challenges should, in a perfect world, grow stronger. Listen, the reality is the older you get, the more freedoms you have, which is awesome. But with freedom comes responsibility. So looking back now as somebody who's a lot older than most of my audience, I can see with a lot of clarity that my freedoms have exponentially grown. But so have my responsibilities, so has my exhaustion, so has the workload, and I welcome it, and I love it, and I feel blessed that I have the ability to handle as much as I can handle. So does it get easier? No. The reality is you have to believe in your ability to grow in patience and in endurance, and also understanding the pleasure and the joy that comes from the kind of work that you do. I just got back from a trip I'm exhausted from. It was the most wonderful trip, but it was a ton of work. And I think if you asked anybody who was on that trip, they would say the same thing, but so thoroughly enjoyable. You really got to remove whatever your old definitions of freedom is or was. You just have to, because it's not what you think it is. And if you go into your adult life believing that freedom is not having a care in the world, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. So with freedom comes responsibility, and every one of those freedoms and every one of those responsibilities is an absolute blessing. I always tell my seniors, like, tell me when you feel like you're going to have the most freedom ever. And they say, oh, for sure, next year when I move out of the house and I don't have anybody, telling me when to wake up or to get to school on time. There's no dean following me around, with drug dogs and tardy slips. And I say, yeah, that's all very true. But what's going to happen if you're, let's say, away at school and there is no one to do all that? So what are you going to do? Skip class every day? Get high every night? Chances are you're not going to last in that school very long. So, yeah, you've got freedoms, but you've got to also accept the responsibilities that come with that so that you can keep those freedoms. So, sorry, it's not going to get easier, but your joy in that responsibility is going to grow much larger than the pain or the inconvenience of that lack of freedom.
Definitely. And I think you'll find that your freedom looks different in every stage of life.
At every age, for sure. I'm like in the sweet spot right now, right? Just being able to walk away from my beautiful and amazing grandchildren when I want to go home and get some sleep. So,
And
yeah.
we're in the thick of it with our 2-year-old and 8-month-old.
Exactly.
But it's absolutely worth it, like you said.
So worth it.
You learn to adapt, and I think that's
And balance.
the biggest learning lesson in life is you adapt to everything thrown your way, and you get better at handling things. So it does get easier.
And if you remove the selfishness that we all naturally have, you're less likely to complain about it.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
all right, what do we got?
And our final question for our episode about loving appropriately is about, how do I know if somebody likes me for the right reasons?
Oh, how do I know if someone likes me for the right reasons? And the same, I guess, would go for how do I know if I like someone else for the right reasons?
Absolutely.
So here's the reality. Unless you're meeting online without a single photo or video, we all naturally recognize looks and the superficial stuff first. There's no denying that. Mm-hmm. When we meet somebody, we tend to be attracted first to their looks, their physical appearance. Mm-hmm. So if that's all you're looking for, and that's all you're going for, and that's all you're responding to, then that is what's happening. They're only into you because of how you look. You have to allow that to grow. That has to go from superficial to unconditional love. Superficial is everything we just talked about. Unconditional means you're going to take the time to get to know that person and to find the beauty that's inside of them, not just the beauty that's outside of them. And maybe a couple of dates into it, you realize that looks weren't everything, and this person really is not somebody you're interested in because you don't have the same interests, or there's something about them that is a total turnoff. We'll talk more about that in a couple of episodes when we talk about intimacy. But when you take the time to look past their beautiful face and recognize the beauty that's within, that's when you know that someone loves you for more than one reason, and that you don't have to be made up and looking perfect every time you see them. Listen, when I fell in love with my husband at 17, he was the cutest boy I'd ever seen. I mean, so cute. Well, he and I have both aged quite a bit since then. That was 42,
A little.
42-something years ago. And people now, when I show pictures of us at that age, people now say, wait, that's you? That's that was a first for both of us. I said, wow, we've really definitely aged. But I still see that 17-year-old beyond the wrinkles, beyond the white beard and the gray hair, beyond the age spots that I also have. So I see beyond that. And if I only cared about the surface, I would have fallen out of love with him, somewhere in the last 20 years when things started changing. That's not what it's about. If you move from superficial to unconditional, you see that beauty beyond the physical changes. So the original question was, how do I know?
If someone likes me for the right reasons.
Allow them to get to know you at a much deeper level. And that's partly you. You have to let them into your heart. It's a risk. You got to let them in. And the minute you realize that looks was the only thing that they saw or that you saw, get out. Get out. Look for somebody who's the whole package and sees you as the whole package.
Absolutely. And I think in my case, one of the biggest things for me in knowing that Ned loved me for the right reasons is we were really good friends, nothing with the physical attraction, with the physical attributes you mentioned, we were able to have conversations and he made me want to be a better person. And I think that's really important when trying to find someone that you love and who loves you, and knowing that they love you for the right reasons and that they want you to be better and constantly be moving forward together.
You have to make that investment
Absolutely.
Together. And you have to want that for each other.
Absolutely.
That goes back to that other part about, right, narcissism and,
Yes.
and thinking outside of yourself.
Yes.
It's not about how do you love me? It's let me show you how much I love you. Which, by the way, brings us to love languages once again. And I promise you, we'll save that for another day, but we will cover love languages and the value of being friends first and how that's so much easier to navigate with love languages than it is for someone like me who thought somebody was cute and started dating him. More on that later.
Yes.
Okay. I think we're done.
Yeah, that's all the questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brittany, for being here, the other Mrs. Hurlbut. I really appreciate my family stepping in and helping out with these questions. This is evolving. I'm not exactly sure how long we'll continue with this specific format, but it's working right now. Please, if you have any questions about anything, submit them. Put them in the comments, email me, because I do use them to create these themes. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, everybody. Bye.